Hi, my name is Brian Goche. This is my WFED 106 safety training video. Just to start off an introduction, typically on a site, if you are asked to go grab a circular saw, you're going to have to do site safety inspection on the saw. So by the end of this demonstration, students will be able to inspect their circular saw, identify any hazards, and also followed up with some safety questions from me, the instructor. So when you first grab your saw, first thing you're going to do is check the electrical cord. Okay, the electrical cord plugs into appropriate power in order to power the saw. So that would be the first thing I would inspect, checking the electrical cord, making sure that it's good. If there's a problem there, then immediately we take the saw out of service. So I'll start by the electrical cord going into the saw, and I'm just going to run my hand down the cord, feeling for any nicks or cuts, or also any exposed wires, if any. Okay, this one seems pretty good. If there was any cuts in the insulation, then it could be fixed with just some electrical tape. If there's any exposed wires, then I would be taking this saw out of service and getting it fixed at the appropriate place. Okay, cord is good. We'll put that aside so we don't trip on it. And now looking at the saw. Okay, picking it up by the handles, making sure that the handles are nice and tight, going over all these screws, making sure we don't have any loose screws. Okay, going over here, checking this one, those two are good. These are the brushes are in here, making sure those brush caps are on there tight. And also looking at all the adjustable levers. At the front, there's the adjustable tilt, so loosen that up, and we'll check and make sure that this one adjusts fairly well. Locking it back in position. The depth adjuster for the blade, we'll check that, make sure it operates good. There's the handle the hook right here, make sure that one is in good working condition. Okay. These screws are nice and tight over here as well. These two for the motor housing. Now looking at the motor housing, we want to make sure that there's no cracks in the motor housing. That's good. And also looking at the shoe of the circular saw. So here, when you're looking at the shoe, you want to make sure that you don't have any big dents in the shoe. This is going to transfer right to your material, so you can have nice square cuts. Okay, right here, if you turn it upside down, you have the key to release the blade. We'll just pull that out. Okay, also here on the graduations, they do have some markings here. Sometimes they get worn out, so you just want to make sure you're looking at those and see that you can see them. Okay, we're also looking for any decals on the saw, making sure that you can read them. They have danger warnings there and the model of the saw. So changing out the blade, we're going to pull up the guard. Okay, while you pull up the guard, it's a good opportunity to check and make sure that it springs back in position. The guard is there to protect your hands from the blade, so if there was an issue with the guard, then I would be taking this one out of service and getting it fixed. On the other side of the saw, we have a blade stop. So pressing in this button right here is going to lock the blade in position, so then I can loosen off the arbor nut. So I'm going to hold this button down here and over here. If you look closely on that arbor nut, it has a direction on how to turn the blade off, loosen the nut. So pressing in on the button at the back and turning it slightly will loosen that arbor nut. Then I can finish it by hand. Okay, make sure you don't lose these pieces, the arbor nut and blade washer. Okay, put those to the side, and then we can take the blade off. So as you can see, this one has a diamond cutout. Make sure when you're going to put another blade on that you get the appropriate blade, not this one with just the circular hole for the arbor. These worm drives need a diamond cutout. As I pull the blade off, I'm going to check for any over usage, over warping, overheating, which causes warping in the blade, which is eventually going to give extra wear on your teeth, and you don't want these teeth to be missing. So I would check through the blade, starting here and making sure that I have all my teeth. Okay, all depending on what job you're doing. If I was doing finish work, I wouldn't want to lose any teeth. If I was doing rough work, a couple teeth missing here and there isn't a big deal. It's just going to give you a rougher cut. Okay, here is an example right here of some overheating, excessive overheating, a lot of wear going around the inside of the blade, and on the other side you can see that there is a lot of discoloring there where the blade heated up a lot. This blade would have a little bit of warpage to it, which would make my saw kerf a lot wider and give more vibration into the saw. Okay, looking in here, as you pull the guard back, you can see the spring in there. So you want to make sure that the spring is in good condition. It's attached at both ends, and there's nothing in there clogging it up. At this point, you can also take out the bushing cap and just make sure there's no sawdust or dirt inside that area. The bumper pad right there, make sure, just take a look at it, make sure that it's not cracked or fallen off. That stops the guard from coming back and dampers that connection. Put the bushing cap back in, then you can take the blade. Now there's a certain way to put the blade on, and with the circular saw, if you look at this arrow right here, that shows you the blade rotation. So this blade cuts on an up motion. So I got to make sure I put the teeth facing the front of the saw. Slide that in and find the diamond cutout, put it in the right spot. Then we'll take the arbor cap, place that on top, and the arbor screw, put it back in there. Now, with the centrifugal force of the blade spinning, that helps tighten this nut. So the thread on this nut is reversed. So you have to do lefty tighty, righty loosey. Okay, and once that's hand tight, you can go back and press that button at the back, put the key on there. Once you feel it tight, then we're just going to turn it about a quarter turn. Okay, and that's all it needs, because with the centrifugal force of the blade, it helps keep that nut nice and tight. The other thing you may want to check on your circular saw is making sure that it has some oil in it. There's a bunch of gears in here that turn the blade, so if they were dry, then eventually it would seize up. So a good check here is right over here where that button is. You can put the same key on there, put it on, and we're just going to turn it to the left to loosen it off. Then by hand, you can take this cap right out and check if there's oil in there. And this one we have oil. We don't need to top it up. The level of the oil should be just below the threads inside that cavity. Tightening back up, you just want to do it finger tight. You don't want to reef on this nut. You don't want to strip the nut there. Okay? This thing works. Now we'll put the key back in the right location, nice and safe in the saw. Make sure you put it upright, okay? Nothing below the base of the shoe, okay? So just to reiterate some key points of the circular saw, any circular saw that you grab on site, you need to do a safety inspection. And the more you do it, the faster it gets. So just going over a few points. First, check the electrical cord. Make sure you have the three-prong plug. The third one is the grounding. Okay, make sure it's plugged into an appropriate outlet that will service this circular saw. Then checking the base shoe, making sure it doesn't have any dents, big bends in it. You want that nice and flat. Then checking all your adjustment levers, and also checking all the screws, making sure you have a tight connection on everything. Okay. Then again, checking the blade, making sure you have the appropriate blade and the right amount of teeth on the blade going in the right direction. Finally, checking the oil. That's something that you don't have to do every time. If you're using the saw on a daily basis, then checking the oil every so often would be a great idea. Okay, so that concludes my safety training video, WFED 106. Thank you for watching.